I think global warming is not proven. Even if it were proven, there are a lot of different solutions other than cap and trade and turning over the entire economy to the EPA.
I do not believe in cap and trade, so I'm not willing to spend trillions of dollars to try and stop CO2 emissions when we don't really know what where the science will lead.
Look at someone at energy that never bought into the, quote, climate science of global warming, that we later found out was not climate science, it was political science.
Then when I became chairman of the Committee of Jurisdiction, because we were a majority at that time, I did some checking into the science only to find out that they had rigged the science. This book covers it, how the United Nations rigged this thing all the way through. And you talk about appropriate timing, Steve, right when we're getting the spike in the gas prices, as soon as they start their plan, which they are doing, to regulate the CO2 in the refineries, you're going to see another huge spike.
So you're saying, sir, it's just a hoax. It's not being caused by people. And meanwhile, you got environmentalists and people on the political left in this country who are standing by trying to use it as a convenient excuse to redistribute wealth in this country.
That's exactly right. And if you go back, I have one whole chapter on the origin of this. It actually goes all the way back, Steve, to 1972. And then, of course, right now, they're starting to meet down at Rio for the Rio meeting that started in 1992 plus 20 years. Now, they're reaffirming that they're going to try to do the very thing that we're trying to stop by regulation. And that's the problem that we're having right now. We won all the votes, if you'll remember, Steve, and I remember talking to you about it. Each time a cap and trade bill came up, we won, and won quite handily. So now what Obama's trying to do is do it through regulation instead of through legislation. Now, that means it's going to be even more expensive. And as I say, when they start hitting the refineries, then you're going to really see gas prices go up. It was interesting yesterday. You may have missed it yesterday, Steve, but Stephen Chu, who's the energy secretary for President Obama, they asked him the question in a House hearing, are you attempting to reduce the price of gas at the pumps? And they said no. This is the same Stephen Chu, on behalf of the president, who said 3 years ago that our goal is to get the gas prices up to be comparable to those in Europe, $7 or $8 a gallon.
Sure,
so
we've heard him say, have it now. We've heard him say that in the past. So what you're saying is those who have this agenda, they're using essentially fear, not facts, to try to get people, and using the mainstream media, because they're all in the tank for this, to try to get that passed.
It's all fear. And they've talked, in fact, Gore even said, you're not going to get nations to cooperate and to make the necessary sacrifices, reducing their economy, unless you instill fear in them. And we have a lot of his fear statements. It didn't work. Right. However, they still have an endangerment finding. I know this is kind of in the weeds, and they're proceeding to do it, Steve, on regulations, which would be far greater in terms of the expense to those who are watching us now than if they had done it by legislation.
Senator, for all the people who have wondered about global warming, you say it's a hoax. It's all in this brand new book, The Greatest Hoax, How the Global Warming Conspiracy Threatens Your Future. They can read all about it. Senator James Inhofe joined us today from D.C. Thank you, sir.